So now we're going to be looking at the 6.2 notes with variables. And again, we're going to be applying the same properties that we learned without variables, and now we're going to be using variables. So this very first one, number 1, I would multiply all the numbers together, 5 times 2 times 3, and then we have x to the 3/8 plus 1/4, and then the y. Now, just starting to simplify, 10 times 3 is 30. X, we're going to get a common denominator, 3/8 plus 2/8 y. And then we would end up with 30 x to the 5/8 y. And that would be our final answer as simplified as possible. Doing the same thing with number 2, we're going to go ahead and multiply 2 times 3 times 7, and then we have x to the 1/2 plus negative 3/4 and y to the 2 plus 1/3. Again, starting to simplify, 2 times 3 is 6, 6 times 7 is 42. We're going to need to get common denominators for the x. So to the 2/4 plus negative 3/4. And then y, if I get a common denominator again of thirds, 3 times 2 is 6/3 plus 1/3. Simplifying, 42 x to the negative 1/4 y to the 7/3. Continuing on, we're going to have to make that exponent positive, so we would have 42 y to the 7/3 over x to the 1/4. Now we need to rationalize that denominator because we have a fourth root, so we need to rationalize it by multiplying top and bottom by x to the 3/4. And then we would finally have this simplified to 42 x to the 3/4 y to the 7/3 all over x to the 4/4, which is just 4. 4/4, which is just 1. But we've rationalized that denominator. So this would be simplified in best form. Let's go ahead and take a look at number 4. We have this polynomial to the 1/2. Actually, it's a monomial, one term. So we're going to have 16 to the 1/2 times g to the 4 times 1/2, h to the 2 times 1/2. I'm kind of going through this step by step just to make sure you have that. So 16 to the 1/2, g to the 1/2, and h to the 1. Now, simplifying that, if we wrote 16 to the 1/2 in radical, that would be the square root of 16. And then again, we're going to get g to the 1/2 h. And so finally we'd end up with 4 g to the 1/2 h. And that would be all the way simplified. All right, let's look at number 5. We would go ahead and simplify by saying 6 divided by 6 is 1, negative 18 divided by 6 is negative 3. And then we're going to have to start to simplify all of these variables. So in the numerator we have negative 3, r to the 1 minus 1/4, s to the 2/3 minus 2/5, and then bringing the t up, it would be t to the 1/3. Now we need to go ahead and simplify our fractions. So negative 3 r to the 4/4 minus 1/4, s to the 15ths. So 5 times 2 is 10, and again 15ths, 3 times 2 is 6, t to the 1/3. and then we'd get negative 3 r to the 3/4 s to the 4/15 t to the 1/3. And everything is simplified, so that would be our final answer. Let's take a look at number 7. If we have a cubed root, I like to think of this as the into its prime factorization. So the cubed root of 2 times 2 times 2, x times x times x. And again, because it is a cubed root, it's going to take 3 in order to come out. So I cross that out and bring a 2 out. Cross that out and bring an x out, and there's nothing left. So actually 2x is our final answer. Or let's take a look at this next one, number 8. So if I do the same thing and factor it into its product of primes, I'm going to get 3 times 3 times 3x, and then I have 6 y's. And again, it takes 3 to come out, so I cross it out, bring a 3 out. I bring 1 y, and I bring a second y. So simplifying it, I would have 3 y squared times the cubed root, and all I have left in there is x. And that would be our final answer. I'm going to keep doing this with number 10, simplifying it. So we have a square root and 5 times 5, and we have 7 x's. So we're going to go ahead and bring out pairs. So I cross out the 5. There are 2 of them. Bring it out. I have 1x. I have another x. I have another set of x's. And then I have 1 left inside. So simplified, it would be 5x to the 3rd times the square root of x. That would be our simplest answer. Let's do the same thing for number 11. If we factored it, we have a 4th root. 81 is 9 times 9. So 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. And then we have 8 x's. And we have 6 y's. Now again, since it's a 4th root, it'll take 4 to factor out. So I have a 3. I have 1x. I have a second x. I have 1 y. And then I have the 4th root of y squared. Now simplifying this, I would end up with 3x squared y. And then I want you to notice that this, if I write y squared and it's a 4th root, if I wrote it in exponential form, it would be y to the 2/4, which is the same as y to the 1/2. So in radical form, it would be 3x squared y times the square root of y. Be careful on simplifying this piece here, just to make sure you have it all the way done. So that's going to be the end of part 1, and then we'll go ahead and keep trying some more problems in part 2.